Hello and welcome. My name is Mark Stevenson with Coldesi down in Tampa, Florida. And what I'm here to do today is to walk you through a commercial embroidery machine review and comparison for 2015. Now, we've compared the 5 top single head machines on the market today. We've tried to keep the pricing comparison as updated as possible. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk you through a few things. First of all, I'm going to try to define what commercial embroidery machine means. We're going to take a quick look at the different configurations, and then we're going to do a feature and price comparison. At the end of the presentation, I'm going to provide you with a link that will lead you to the full kind of online website page comparison article that will give you a little bit more in-depth information. But believe me, there's plenty here for you to take a look at and to help you make a decision on the best commercial embroidery machine for you. So let's talk about commercialness. And no, that's not a word. But when you talk about a commercial embroidery machine or sewing machine or anything really, it's kind of like this truck. A lot of things that make it commercial may be hidden underneath. You know, what's the size of the bed? What's the tongue weight on the trailer hitch? Does it have an upgraded suspension? Is there an upgraded engine inside that gives it more torque? Is there something about it? Are there extra maintenance features inside this truck that make it a commercial unit? It's made to be used every day. It's made to be roughly handled every day. It's made for commercial use, okay? And just like this truck, sometimes there's no way to tell from the outside on an embroidery machine. So let's take a look at some of the things that we look for that might identify a product as a commercial machine. First of all, the number of needles is important. You know, there are many monogram style machines that are 9 needle that are reasonably commercial. Most real heavy duty commercial machines are made with 15 or 16 needles, which is what you're going to want to run a business. You're going to keep your 6 or 7 primary colors on your machine at all times. And then as you get customers, the rest of those cones, the rest of those color embroidery thread are going to be used for those customers and whatever your most common designs are to run. The more needles you have, the less often you have to swap thread out, which means you can do more jobs faster, etc. Mostly it's to point out that a single needle machine is not a commercial machine. It does not matter how much you paid for it. Doing one color at a time for embroidery is tough on a business basis. It's also the size of the sewing field. Now, this isn't necessarily the hoop size, but it is related. The size of the sewing field is how big of an item can you embroider. And that's going to be important because a commercial machine, if you're just getting started in the embroidery business, you're going to want to embroider on jacket backs. That's going to be a very profitable area for you. You might want to do a couple of dozen patches at a time for iron on or sew on later. You might want to do beach towels or draperies or anything really that's large. You know, the size of the sewing field has a big impact with how productive you can be and how much money you can make. This is just a small one that I have put in there, the thread break sensor, because I've heard some people moving in or upgrading from a consumer machine really talk about this a lot. And I never realized how important it was. But if you're sewing out a larger design, I mean, let's say something is 6,000 stitches or 5,000 stitches. You need something that will tell you when there's a thread break. Otherwise, the embroidery machine will just keep going with no thread in one of the needles, and that'll cause you a lot of duplicated work. It should have a memory, and that can be an onboard memory. As a matter of fact, in all cases except for the Melco Amaya machines, there are onboard memories in the commercial embroidery machines. And actually that's one of the things, it's one of the reasons why some other manufacturers don't put the Amaya Melco embroidery machines in the commercial capacity, is because you have to have a computer hooked up to it to run it, and it doesn't have an onboard memory, which the others do. And of course, commercial embroidery machines sew on caps. Cap embroidery is a big part of today's commercial businesses. You can't go anywhere without seeing a kiosk in the mall that just embroiders caps, or a lids franchise in the mall, or even plumbers and electricians and landscapers, anybody that works outside, typically if they're wearing a cap, which is a lot, it's embroidered with the company logo. So that's a big part. Those things are a big part of the commercialness of an embroidery machine. Now, one of the other big parts is going to be the service and serviceability of the machines. So, for example, do you have a competent professional commercial embroidery repair staff and support staff? Because your business depends on this. What you don't want to do is you don't want to call up a company that sells, maybe they sell a high-end consumer embroidery machine, and they also sell a label maker, and they also sell an inkjet printer, and they also sell all these other things. So you might have a tech doing double duty and talking to consumers all day. No, what you want is someone that is used to working with professionals, that understand that you're running a business and your machine only breaks down or needs support, or you only need help when you're actually using it. So it's not like you can wait 3 days for a response. Okay, so support is a big deal. And another indicator, or can be a great indicator of the commercialness of a machine, is commercial machines are designed to last a long time, right? They're designed to hold their value, to work all day, every day, in circumstances that would just burn up a consumer machine very quickly. So like you see here, the A+ logo for the Avance commercial machine, which we'll talk about in just a moment, there's a 2-year, 100% trade-up value guarantee. So, if you are purchasing a commercial embroidery machine, you want to know that that investment is going to last. And most commercial manufacturers and distributors for those guys offer a solid trade-up guarantee towards a new unit or towards a multi-head. So let's talk about configurations for a second. There are a couple of different configurations that you're going to look at. And pardon me if I'm treating you like you're new to this. It is a little bit basic, but I want to make sure that everybody understands that when you are looking at a commercial embroidery machine and what the best one might be for you, that one of the first things you're going to look at is not only the number of needles, and you'll see the SWF and the Avance here that we're using as an example are 15 needle machines. The Tajima is a 16 needle. You'll see like all the tensioners are on the front. There's always a control panel there that will store a memory that we're going to talk about in just a moment. And you'll see there's plenty of space down here to put your hoops, and they've got stands and wheels. And this thing right here, this thing right in the middle with all the needles on it and all of your tensioning knobs and things along those lines, that's the head. Okay, so that's why this is a single head machine. So what you'll notice is these are single head machines. These two are 15 needle, so that's why these are both called the 1501C. So it's 15 needle, one head, and they're compact machines, which means they're all under 2.5 or 3 feet by 3 feet. So they're designed to be storable or transportable. And we'll talk about maybe one or two of the differences there. One that I'll point out is you'll see the Avance kind of sits on top of a stand like this. The new SWF machines and the Tajimas are kind of bolted to the stand. So if you wanted to take it somewhere, it's a little bit more problematic, where the Avance is a little bit easier. Also, these two have control boxes that have to go with the machine, where everything is self-contained inside the Avance. So these are 15 needle, single head, compact commercial embroidery machines. Now your options next are multi-head machines, and this one is a 6-head, and you'll see why it's a 6-head. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heads. Other than that, they operate basically the same way. There's still a control panel. Some of them offer the ability to hook up a network cable to it and send designs to it that way. Most of them just use the control panel and maybe a USB drive to load your designs. But there are not only, this is a 6-head, there are smaller, there's a 4 heads, they come in compact as well. And they also come in smaller and larger. There are a few 2-head designs out there. There are 8-head and 16-head and 24-head. As a matter of fact, Coldesi has sold some of the large, really large, multiple SWF machines out to, to some of the biggest names in the business, like Perry Ellis, that use these larger format machines. So just because, you may be a startup and you're looking at this presentation trying to figure out what the best single head embroidery machine is to get started with, Don't discount getting right into multi-heads as well. Hopefully I'll be able to do another presentation for you to introduce you to multi-heads. But it's an important choice, because at the same time you're doing, if it takes you, for example, 10 minutes to embroider a cap on a single head, in that same 10 minutes, someone with a 6 head is getting 6 done. So there's a few articles on our site about the difference in scalability and profitability of multi-heads that you should probably look at as well. But here is the breakdown. Here is the breakdown of the 5 most popular single head embroidery machines on the market that we could find. And I'm going to go through each one of these features, and we are going to see which one wins in which different area and which one might be right for you. So the first one that we're going to look at here is the number of needles, and we already talked about that. 16 needles for the Melco and the Tajima. Only 10 needles for the Brother. And frankly, I put this Brother PR1000E in here. It's called the Entrepreneur Pro. And I put it in here. Really, it's just a high-end consumer machine. It's only got 10 needles. It has a very small sewing field. But I put it in here because they price it like it's a commercial machine. And sometimes that's how people decide, you know, whether a machine is a high quality or not, or good for the job or not, is by how much it costs. So I wanted to put this in here so you could see some of the contrast. Now the SWF and the Avance are 15 needle machines. The next one is the sewing field, and we talked about this a little bit. The sewing field is how large of a garment that you can sew, basically. It's how big of a design you can make. The Tajima has got a nice one at 9.5 by 14, like the Avance. The SWF and the Melco are about the same at about 11 by 17 in one aspect or the other. The Brother kind of fails at an 8 by 14 as being the smallest. That's why it's in red. Now, cap frames, this is what you need to do in order to embroider a cap. Now, we talked about this. You have to be able to do this. Someone is going to want, 12 polos, and they're going to want 12 caps to go with it, and you're going to want to be able to fill that order. Okay, and you can see that the Tajima, the SWF, and the Avance all come standard with cap frames, which is what you need to do caps. The sewing field here is also important. They're all comparable, 14.25 inch by 3 inches and change. That's how big of a design you can put on the cap. The jacket field, I couldn't find that for the Tajima. I apologize, but I did find it for the Melco, which is 14.4 inches by 11. The SWF is 18.5 by 12, basically. The Avance has the biggest one. And this is one thing, we've had one customer upgrade a multi-head SWF or multi-head Avance for the size of the sewing field. And even though this is larger than the multi-head, it's still a great deal. 22 inches by 14 inches, that's a big jacket back, okay? Now, networking, I'm going to do a little qualifier here. Networking is basically just an Ethernet hookup. So yes, you can hook up all of these machines, the Avance, the Melco, and the Tajima, to your computer with an Ethernet cable. The Brother and the SWF, you cannot. The Brother does not include software. The Melco, Tajima, and SWF do. It's all good software. There's no complaints about any of these. The Pulse and Design Shop have a nice look to it. They look very simple to use. The Sierra software on the SWF and the Avance, oftentimes you can get a nice upgrade deal to a more full-featured digitizing software that'll add to your value. Now, the number of designs included, what I mean by this is kind of an embroidery clip art. And what embroidery clip art is basically just like clip art on any software application. They're designs that are pre-digitized that you can bring in. So maybe there's a football or a baseball, so you don't have to start from scratch or order a digitized design. It's clip art. So the Tajima comes with a few, the Melco 1800, which is good. The Brother comes with 110. Both the SWF and the Avance, because those are offers from Coldesi, come with 4,400 designs. 4,000 Panto stock designs, and then you get several hundred from Dakota Collectibles, which is a great place to source some really interesting and unique and beautifully done digitized clip art. Color control panel is pretty self-explanatory. Design preview is really important because that tells you what design you're about to work with. Stitch memory is also a big deal. Why is that? It's because the number of designs and the number of stitches on those designs that your embroidery machine will hold. So for example, if you have 10 customers and they have 3 or 4 different regular customers and they have 3 or 4 different designs each, you don't want to go to your computer and download them onto a USB or have to send them to the embroidery machine every time. You can store them right in the memory of the machine. So you just bring up all of your designs by name, take a look at the preview in the color LCD screen, and hit go. And that will embroider out your best customers' designs. So the number that you can keep in here, that's going to be a time saver over time. This is one of those things that sneaks up on you that you won't realize until you're 3 months or 6 months into your embroidery business. The wheeled stand is also important if you're taking your embroidery machine on the road, if you keep it in a mall kiosk for security reasons, or frankly, if you're just using it in a home office, so you can roll it into a closet at the end of the day. Okay, these things are about 180 pounds, 200 pounds, something like that. So they're definitely transportable, but not something that you want to try to do yourself. Warranty is, of course, important, and 5 years is pretty much the standard. You'll see the Brother falls way down on that. The XTS warranty from Amaya is 3 years. I did just read about their new EMT, which is a 16-needle machine that has a 5-year warranty, but it adds about $3,000 onto the price tag versus the XTS. The maximum speed, this is SPM, is stitches per minute, 1,200, 1,100, 1,000, 1,200, 1,200. Honestly, you're never going, or I won't say never, you're rarely going to run your machines at this speed. You know, normally you're going to be in the 750, 850 stitches per minute range, or even less, depending on the job, because the faster it's going, the more likely it is to have a thread break or make some kind of a mistake. So you want to make sure that you run it at a reasonable speed. It's good to have the 1,200 stitches per minute if you can. But it's not a mandatory feature. Training, there are 3 types of training that we listed out. There should be 4. There's online training, classroom training, and self-paced. There should also be on-site training. Now, online training, I mean, frankly, Coldesi leads the pack in online training classes, and you can go to support.coldesi.com and just take a look anytime you'd like. You schedule live online training whenever you get your machine. And that's the way we recommend that you do it. So both the SWF and the Avance have that. So does Melco. Tajima does not. And Brother, it's optional. Classroom training, basically, these guys offer on-site training more often. So there is less classroom training. Both the SWF and the Avance, they do have classroom training in both Tampa and New Jersey. And self-paced training is great for 2 things. If you have some experience with embroidery machines, or if you have an employee or a second person at the shop that you hire on, or that you just need a refresher. Self-paced training is kind of like you go through at your own pace. It's some PowerPoint visuals, it's some videos. It's a great way for, even before you get your machine, to kind of take a look at what the process is like so you can get ready. And after you have the machine, you can get a training refresher anytime you want to. Okay, so that is the value of self-paced training. Included hoops is a big deal. Hoops can be a little bit expensive, anywhere from a few $100s to more than that. And you get 9, 7, 13, and 11 hoops, depending on which machine that you get. Just make sure that you get cap frames as well, and a large jacket back, at least 1. Automatic thread trimming, I already talked about that in the last slide. Standard feature on a commercial embroidery machine that seems to surprise people in the consumer world. Desktop operation, that means that you can put the machine actually on top of a desk. And the only one that you can't do that really with is the 1501C from SWF. I'll take that back. You can, but you have to purchase the feet and take it off of the stand. It's actually bolted to the stand and put the feet on. It's a little complicated, but you can do it. And they all come with startup supplies except for the Brother. The Brother PR1000 is sold by kind of local sewing shops and embroidery stores, and they will typically load you up with whatever supplies that you need anyway. But keep in mind with something like the Entrepreneur Pro from Brother, you're not getting any startup supply standard. You're not getting any hoop standard. After you start with a big price like this and you start adding things up, it's really, really not worth it. Any of the other four would be an excellent choice compared to that one. So the last thing that I'll talk to you about is a few updates and a few notes. I didn't include the Baradin. Baradin makes a great machine, but they're single head machines. They're 15 needle or 16 needle machines. They're expensive. Okay, they're in the $16,000-$17,000 range, according to some quotes that I've seen just recently. And they are a really good machine. Whether or not they're worth the price is going to be up to you. I did not include it because of the price. Also, Baradin is kind of famous for their small font abilities. And we're going to be cutting a video soon that shows the small fonts on the Avance. We've had several people tell us that it's just as good on a machine that's probably $5,000 less. Amaya, I did not include their new model, the EMT 16, because it is brand new. The only thing I have for you is that it's still a 16 needle machine. They are offering on-site training for it, and it is $13,000, a little bit more. But keep in mind with all of the Amayas, and the reason that many commercial embroidery machine comparison and reviews do not include them is because they look at it more as a high-end consumer machine, because you can't use it without a computer. So in most embroidery shops, especially if you're a screen printer that adds embroidering, or you're doing custom tees with a DTG printer and you add embroidery, you don't want your computer in the same room always hooked up to your equipment. You're going to want to be able to hand an operator a design on a USB stick and have him go over to it and run it, or better yet, to have 2 million stitches worth of memory on board on the embroidery machine so you can run different designs that you've already got loaded up. That concludes our commercial embroidery machine review and comparison for 2015. You'll find a lot more information on our website at avance-emb.com. The full text of the article includes some visual representations of the sewing field, some important ideas about storing files, the networkability of the different products that are on the market, and several other things that are going to impact your decision or should impact your decision on which equipment that you want to start or expand your business with. We hope you'll visit avance-emb.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube, find us here on SlideShare, follow us on Facebook at Custom Apparel Startups Facebook group, and contact us directly anytime. Cole Dessie's phone number is 800-793-3278. You'll most easily find us through chat right in the bottom right-hand corner of every one of our websites. Thanks for paying attention, and happy embroidering.